Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. Today marks the birthday of one of the most influential figures in Christian history, and yet many Christian scholars doubt whether this person was a Christian at all. I'm talking about the Emperor Constantine. Now, he was born in Serbia. His father was a Roman soldier, and he served under Diocletian. Now, Diocletian was a real moral monster of an emperor, possibly the worst persecutor of all of the Christians. The worst persecution Christians faced was when Diocletian was the emperor. And Constantine was present in Diocletian's house when the great persecution of 303 AD began. There's no record that he either participated or that he resisted or stood against it or tried to dissuade Diocletian in any way. Now, in 312 AD, Constantine fought against Maxentius at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge. And even though his forces were outnumbered, this was a crucial battle about who was going to be now emperor over the Roman Empire. And apparently, Constantine saw a vision of Chi Rho, two Greek letters in the sky, and of course the first two letters of Christ, Christos, saying, "In this sign conquer." Now, later versions said he saw a cross in the sky, but originally it was the two letters Chi Rho. Anyway, it said, "In this sign conquer," and he went out and he fought the battle, and he afterwards said he had become a Christian and that Christ had helped him win his battle. And he, first of all, he introduced tolerance, that basically persecution against Christians stopped, which was something obviously Christians were absolutely delighted about. Later on, he made Christianity the official religion of Rome and set out to turn Rome into a Christian empire. Now, the reason why I say many scholars doubt whether he was ever really a Christian was because there's no sign of that in his life. He certainly knew how to exploit the growing force of Christians to support him, but he still dabbled with paganism. He still lived a brutal and immoral life. And in fact, he was only baptized just before his death, pretty well trying to hedge all his bets and saying, well, I know that I've not lived right, so let's sort it out, get a quick baptism before I die, and then when I'm on my deathbed, and hopefully that'll sort of act as my fire insurance. So was Constantine a Christian at all? A lot of scholars anyway don't believe so. I certainly don't believe he was a genuine born-again Christian at all. But his effect on the church was huge. Now, obviously for the Christians at the time, the removal of persecution was amazing. It was wonderful. And then the idea that when news began to say, look, the emperor's become a Christian, that must have been so exciting. You know, we're about to go from being the bottom of the pile to being the top of the pile. But the effects on the church were mixed indeed, because a lot of the pagan practices and imagery of Rome now became part of the Christian church and crept into the Christian church. Many of the practices that meant we had to have a reformation many centuries later came about because of Constantine. There was a lot of corruption of the faith came in. And I think it's fair to say that the church became a lot more Roman than it was Christian because of Constantine and his influence. A church that had once been the persecuted church now became a persecuting church that would wage wars against those they saw as heretics and try to convince them to come back to the true faith at the point of the sword, and even to launch crusades against other peoples. So when we look back on it, Constantine, yes, he had a huge influence on the church. Whether that was an influence for good or for evil, I think historians will be debating that for a long, long time. My own opinion is, while Constantine brought some welcome relief from persecution, he brought stuff into the church that was immensely damaging, took a long time to recover from. Why? Because the church is not meant to be hand in hand with the state. Jesus said we are going to be in the world, but not of the world. And when we get too closely wedded to the state, then compromises inevitably take place that dishonor Jesus Christ. Praise God whenever we do get favor that allows us to practice our religion freely, to practice our faith, to spread the faith. But let's not look to walk hand in hand with the state. It's not worked out well in the past, and it won't work out well if we try to do it now. God bless you today. Join us again next time for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.